How's everybody doing today? I certainly hope you're doing well. It's that time again for another edition of Story Time. And I like to let people know whether or not it's a true story or not. It is not a true story. It is a story in which I created. Every part of the story is fictional. However, the name of the story is called Aussie Coba Island. You see, Aussie Coba Island is located 19 miles on the southeastern tip of Australia. Aussie Coba Island used to be under the sole jurisdiction of Australia, but because of some very strange things that had happened over the years, well, the Australian government placed it in the guardianship of two people who were half American and half Australian. They had both dual citizenship to both countries. Now you see, the very fascinating thing about Aussie Coba Island is that about 20 years ago, when it was under the jurisdiction of the Australian government, some very strange things were occurring on that island. The island is very small, but you see, there are 3 shipwrecks, and those shipwrecks, some say, had a lot of gold and silver and artifacts from these sunken ships. And so many different people would veer out to this island to go treasure hunting. And then you'd have these people that were spending tens of thousands of dollars to hire scuba divers and hire people that specifically dealt with finding treasure or lost treasure within the ocean floor. But you see, it wasn't that big of a deal because it wasn't really that deep. Hell, 50 feet down, and that's where these ships lay. But one after another, after another, after another, they were all deemed as some sort of accident. One guy drowns. Another was cut on the leg by some of the debris, and when he came up, he contracted some sort of bizarre disease, and it spread amongst several shipmates. Then they all perished. So before you know it, the Australian government got sick and tired of having to respond their emergency services to Aussie Coba Island. Then, of course, the last incident that occurred, there's about 15 shipmates on a very small boat. They had several scuba divers. And as they veered out to go hunt for this treasure, about 50 feet down, well, 2 divers went down, and they didn't come back up. So 3 more divers went down to rescue the 2 that originally went down, that didn't come up. And those 3 didn't come up. What to do? So about 6 divers went down, and they didn't come up either. The remaining individuals that were left went back to the mainland, contacted the authorities, and all the authorities came rushing out along with members of the military, because that's a lot of people just to disappear all of a sudden. Within that rescue team was a gentleman by the name of Ben Terry. And Ben Terry, I tell you what, he was a very stout individual, about 5'8", 210 pounds. very, very fit, exercised every single day. Well, he was in the equivalent of what you'd call in the United States as the National Guard in that area. And he was one of the team members of the search party. There was about 35 different individuals, including Ben Terry. Well, even though you had some sort of military operation that was going to try to find out what happened to all of these different shipmates, went down to retrieve this gold and just never came back up. Again, there's 35 people in this rescue team, including Ben Terry. Ben Terry was on top of the boat, and he was coordinating all these other people, trying to get down the exact logistics to try to make sure everybody was absolutely safe in what they were doing. Everything was being recorded, both on audio and video. And they sent 5 divers down with the rest above. 30 people were awaiting some sort of word. And as they're getting video footage that was being relayed back to the ship, something very bizarre happened. And the 5 of the rescue team that went down suddenly vanished. Just bloop, gone. Well, Ben Terry had to make a decision. Is he to send down more people to potentially for them to lose their lives? Or does he essentially call off the entire search and head back to the mainland? Well, Ben Terry decided that he was going to take matters into his own hands. And Ben Terry suited up because he was very proficient in diving. He had all of these awards and all of these medals, and you know, he was known mostly for his underwater welding, if you can imagine what that would be like. Very secret operations of the past. But he had an idea, see? And because of all of his operations that he'd done in the past, he has seen these sorts of things happen before. But of course, he was sworn to secrecy because he was working for military operations at the time. So Ben Terry went back into a room on one of the ships, and he prepared himself for such an event that he too may disappear like all the others. Both the people that went out there treasure hunting, and of course the 5 military men that just vanished. And they all captured it on video as well. So as he closed the door, he prepared himself to make that final dive. Nobody else is to go with him. He gave very strict and direct orders to the rest of the crew that if he is not to return in 20 minutes, they are to essentially head back to the mainland, make their reports, and that would be the end of it. Well, Ben Terry jumped into the water, and as he's swimming down to the area in which all these people had disappeared, both the people that were treasure hunting and the 5 military men that were there specifically for the rescue of these other people, but they too vanished. He's swimming down and he's being extremely cautious. And as he gets down there, he notices that the pressure is pretty extreme. The pressure should not be that extreme because he's only going down about 50 feet. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. So there's something or some sort of energy in the water that is making this pressure throughout his whole body feel like he's down, 800, 1,000 feet. Something's wrong. But he keeps on going. He keeps on swimming down, almost to the point where it's absolutely unbearable. And what does he see? Oh, he sees lots of gold, all right. He sees these statues of human beings made from gold. All these different statues. Literally hundreds of different statues of human beings. He just can't understand it. And what appears to be gold and silver. He's swimming down a little bit further and gets to the point where he gets to touch one of these. But he figures, no, he better not. He better not. Oh no. Because if he touches that gold statue, maybe this is why the rest of them disappeared. So he decides to turn back and swim right up to the edge of the boat with the waiting party, the other men that are waiting for him to arrive, and he does. He orders all of the shipmates to head back to the mainland to make a report, because Ben Terry has it figured out. He understands why these people disappeared. He understands why all of the people prior to the rescue team and all these treasure hunters that kept disappearing. So as they head back, a little bit choppy water, wind is blowing a little bit there. All the other shipmates are in mourning, or what you might call some sort of mourning, but they can't really say anything, and they're going to have to make up some sort of cockamamie story for all the family members of the 5 individuals that just did a Peter Pan and just disappeared. Because you see, this all top secret stuff now. Because it's now a military operation. So when they get back, they make a report. And Ben Terry, he signs off the report. But it sure is strange that all of the people that were trying to go there and treasure hunt, all of those people disappeared, or they perished one way or another, because they decided to dive in the waters off the coast of Australia on an island called Aussie Coba. Well, it was decided several years later, the Australian government said, you know something? We really want nothing to do with this island. It's not like we can just cordon it off and put a big old tape in the ocean and say, okay, do not trespass, because people are going to go there anyway. Hundreds, if not thousands, of people are aware of Aussie Coba. But those thousands of people are also aware that every time somebody goes there to treasure hunt, well, they usually don't come back. And if they do come back, they don't last long. It's like there's some sort of weird curse. Some sort of weird curse, the same sort of curses that followed people and all these other explorers back in the day in Egypt, right? or the superstitions of the different Indian burial grounds within the United States. So the Australian government decided that they were going to hand over the jurisdiction of Aussie Coba Island to the only person that they're aware of that has survived after diving in the waters right off the beach there of Aussie Coba Island, and that would be Ben Terry. But you see, the Australian government had to make a deal with Ben Terry. He had to, for the most part, be the guardian of Aussie Coba Island. But what does that mean? Well, the Australian government decided that they were going to pay Ben Terry at least $5 million a year to watch over the area off the shore of Aussie Coba Island. They would build him a house on the island. They would provide him with a boat and all of the necessary items that he needed in order to be the guardian of Aussie Coba Island, to ensure that other Australian citizens and or international citizens would not dare dive off the shores of Aussie Coba Island. And that's exactly what they did. They sure did, ladies and gentlemen. See, old Ben Terry, he wasn't really looking forward to this. You know, he had to give up his life, you know. And I tell you what, old Ben Terry, he was going through some sort of regiment every single day. He'd go to bed at 8:30 and he'd wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and he was doing his push-ups and he's working out and carrying on. And boy, I tell you what, he was fit. Man, he was fit. But he was smart too. That's the thing. He was smart. He was smarter than the average Joe, let me tell you. But see, here's the thing. Old Ben Terry, he had a sweetheart. He sure did. And this sweetheart, her name was Terry. Well, if he married her, he couldn't rightly be Ben and Terry, could he? Oh no. But you see, Ben Terry, his mother was Linda. And let me tell you something right now. Linda Terry, who raised Ben Terry, who has been the only person in the history of all these people diving, all of these people looking for gold and all these treasures off the coast of Aussie Coba Island. Yeah, she raised them all right. And she couldn't bear the thought that old Ben Terry would have to live on this island without her being able to see him. She'd just have none of it. So old Ben Terry decided he was going to marry his sweetheart, Terry. So here you got Ben Terry and Terry. And here he is, he's trying to tell his mom. He said, Mom, listen, I gotta go. I have to be the guardian of Aussie Coba Island. I gotta do it. My nation is requiring that I be the guardian. I can't say no. She's like, well, then they're going to have to build me a little area, maybe near your house. She kept pressing. He's like, no, you can't do it. You can't do it. Well, several weeks went by, and you had builders out there on Aussie Coba Island. They're building him a big old house there, getting him everything that he needs. He's trying to tidy up things on the mainland there, trying to sell his house and sell all his worldly possessions, because he's not going to be able to come back now. only in emergencies, maybe to get supplies and such. But for the most part, his life is over with. Because he's got to be the guardian of Aussie Coba Island. Here he is having little arguments with his own mother. His mother wants to be with him. He's like, no, you can't do it. He's on a certain mission. He can't talk about it. She's going on and on, just won't leave him alone. So finally, Ben Terry decided that he was going to make a deal with the government. He said, listen, my mom won't leave me alone, all right? And, you know, it's going to break her heart if I can't see her anymore, and I got to be stranded on this Aussie Coba Island, and, you know what, why don't you just build another house for her, will you? I mean, listen, you know, she's an old lady, who cares? So that was going to be the deal. The Australian government agreed that that's what they would do, because again, Ben Terry is the only person that has survived diving off the shores of Aussie Coba Island. So he has to be the guardian. So they set it all up. Now they're going to build her a house, a couple of miles from his house. On Aussie Coba Island. Right? And that's what he does. He marries his longtime sweetheart, Terry. So now Terry's name is Terry. Then, of course, you got Linda Terry, his mom. Well, the last day that they're on the mainland there, the very last day, they get all of their worldly possessions and they head over by boat to Aussie Coba Island, where they're going to live for who knows how long, maybe indefinitely, so that way Ben Terry can be the sole guardian of Aussie Coba Island. Oh yeah. So, a couple of years go by and many people try to dive off the coast, and nah, he won't let them. He stops them right in their tracks. He tries to warn them that nope, they can't do it. And if they attempt to do it, they're going to perish. Some of them were turned away. Others of them would try to sneak in a dive and they'd disappear. Yeah, it's just a horrible thing. Then about 5 years go by. Here he's got all this money. He can't spend it anywhere because he's, for the most part, he's just stuck on Aussie Coba Island. Then all of a sudden he gets a visitor. And the visitor comes in and he's the ambassador to another country. A country that he's not aware of, he's not familiar of. And the ambassador says to him, listen, you've been out of the loop for so many years and you've lost touch with reality, but I'm here to tell you, me and my crew are here to retrieve the gold and the silver of these 3 shipwrecks. We have the technology, we have the know-how, and believe me, we can do it with or without your help. And he shows them a declaration from the Australian government that gives this ambassador the right to do just that. So, Ben Terry, he watches them from afar. He's on the beach and he's watching all these ships come in. And they got all these divers and they're going down there. And next thing you know, they're pulling up all these statues of these people. And as they pull up these statues made of gold of these people, he notices a lot of the statues are in fact of the very people that disappeared because they have all their scuba equipment on. It is so strange. When they get up to the surface, they turn to gold back into flesh. I'm Monograph, and if you can't speak freely, you're simply not free.